Doug Lesmerises with another KOTN Camp Report, this time at Pitt. You can tell back there on the practice field for the Pitt Panthers. They share a practice field here in Pittsburgh and a building. They don't actually share the fields, but they have fields right next to where the Steelers actually currently are practicing. There are 2 practice fields over there for the Steelers and then 2 practice fields here for the Pitt Panthers of the ACC, who are coming off a 3-9 season, and you can feel the changes here at the Pitt Panthers here on Tuesday, as I did get to watch a little bit of practice and thought they might name a starting quarterback, and they didn't. But it's really an offensive discussion here with the Pitt Panthers, even though Pat Narduzzi, the head coach, was not ready to go one way or the other yet with Nate Yarnell and Eli Holstein.
Got 2 quarterbacks. Oh, man, that's a good thing. I'm glad we got more than one. We got 2 quarterbacks that are really good. Those are hard decisions, and let's take it day by day. I mean, you get into game planning and who's picking up game plans and all that. I feel like we have really 2 really good quarterbacks that can win with right now. So,
what did you see?
No answer for him.
So, not ready to name a starter. Nate Yarnell in the spring. Pat Narduzzi was talking about him as he felt like he was going to be the starter, but Eli Holstein clearly has thrown himself into the mix this preseason. You watch him. Nate Yarnell's listed at 6'6", just a bigger presence on the field. Eli Holstein listed at 6'4". I actually thought maybe there was a bigger height discrepancy between the 2 of them. But for either of them, it's going to be about getting the ball out quickly in this new offense. And it feels like the guys are vibing with both of them.
They both dogs, and they both want to win. So they both competitive. They both want to win. I love them both. I'm ready to go to war with either one of them.
So that was Poppy Williams, who had a really good scrimmage on Saturday as probably the number 2 receiver in this offense. The reason that the offense is vibing right now is because they felt like for the first time under this new offense with new offensive coordinator Kade Bell, they all kind of got it in the latest scrimmage. It was the first time that the offense had beaten the defense in a scrimmage since Kade Bell got here as a new offensive coordinator. And this is going to be a hugely up-tempo offense that is going to be like sprinting to the line of scrimmage. And it's just taken everybody a little bit of time to get there with the changes.
Honestly, it was pretty hard at first. I'll be honest, going from not a tempo offense to a very high tempo offense. It was tough to get our conditioning down, but I think we're in full stride now. So we're super excited. We're rolling now. I think we have all our install in. Our tempo is where it should be, and it's been good. I think the sky's the limit for us. Honestly, with our tempo and our skill guys, I think the sky's the limit.
But I do think now there is real potential here. And I like the idea that Pat Narduzzi, entering year 10 as the Pitt head coach, was willing to make a change this big in the offseason and hire a young up-and-coming coordinator who had never been in the Power 4 before, but had been successful at Western Carolina, where his dad was the head coach. And when you have kind of an old school, rugged, defensive-minded head coach who's willing to roll the dice a little bit, like, you got to try. And Pitt this year is clearly trying. So they do have a couple of these Western Carolina guys, Poppy Williams at receiver, and Desmond Reed, who had been the running back at Western Carolina the past couple of years. He's probably going to be the starting running back here, although Rodney Hammond's going to be in that mix as well. So they do have multiple skill guys, and that is one of the things where they feel like once they get this offense on the same page, they have some guys who are capable of making plays.
They're explosive, and they're leaders because they've been in the offense for a couple of years. They know what they're doing. They've helped out a lot with the guys that are here and other new guys that came in. So I'm really excited to see what they can do. I love all of our skill guys, and I'm excited for them.
So you add this kind of new world identity to a foundation that Pat Narduzzi has been building on since he was the defensive coordinator at Michigan State a decade ago. And I do think there's a chance. I think maybe there are some non-believers about Pitt football right now, but you have to remember, this was a team that in 21 and 22 won 20 games those 2 years. There are not a ton of programs in the country who are winning 20 games in a 2-year span. So yes, they dropped back to 3-9 last year, but Pat Narduzzi did not wait to make changes. He did not sit on his hands. He attacked it immediately. So I think there's at least hope for Pitt fans this year. There's some defensive stuff that, they lost some guys in the transfer portal defensively, but I think with Pat Narduzzi, you figure the defense is going to be competitive. That's clearly one of the things Poppy Williams said coming from Western Carolina, and he made a stop at San Diego State last year, but that's like the biggest defense running this offense in practice, is that the defense you are going against is so much bigger and so much faster and hits so much harder. So this is an ACC, obviously, caliber defense, but can they completely change their offensive identity? It might not be perfect in year one, but you have a chance with either of these quarterbacks, whoever wins the starting job. And I don't know how long Pat Narduzzi is going to take this battle. He might take it down to the wire, but I think you can build something here. And so even if there are bumps this year, if Pitt is not all the way back offensively this year, if they are not back to challenging to be a 10-win kind of team, at least you can see the plan. You can see the future, and I do think for Pat Narduzzi, he deserves credit for that. So again, right now, it's a little bit of a work in progress, but there was real energy here on Tuesday, not because they named a starting quarterback, but because this offense, I think for the first time, really feels like it knows what it's doing.
Exciting. It's just exciting. It's just look like poetry out there. Everything, it looked fun, it looked nice. It's gonna be nice when everybody gets a chance to see it. We're looking good.
And then if Pitt football gets back to that, being in this building reminds you of the history of Pitt football. It reminds you of Tony Dorsett's Heisman Trophy from 1976. It reminds you that Aaron Donald played here. His nephew's on the team now. It reminds you of the greatness of Larry Fitzgerald. It reminds you Darrell Revis played here. It reminds you of the great offensive line tradition here. So there really is a lot to Pitt football. I feel like in some ways, in all this geographic change, non-geographic change with realignment, Pitt in the ACC, they're in a conference with a bunch of teams from North Carolina. They do have Boston College and Syracuse right here. Those rivalries are protected by the ACC right now, but you can see why, if Pitt was in a conference with Rutgers and West Virginia and Penn State and teams like that, there really would be an identity here, but there is a history here. So there's a real football history that I think people maybe outside of Pitt take for granted sometimes. They've really had great players run through here, and there's opportunity. So you get a little history, you get a 10-year head coach who's not afraid to roll the dice a little bit, and I think you find a Pitt Panthers team that at the very least should be interesting to watch, and I think has a chance to really give some people some trouble in the ACC with the up-tempo offense they're going to run. That's our latest KOTN Camp Report. We are going live starting Monday, August 26th with a noon show Monday through Thursday and a post-game show on Saturday. We hope you guys join us on our YouTube channel. Get subscribed to Kings of the North. I'm Doug Lesmerises.